myths. And I think that's really what is so powerful and what I wanted to touch on this afternoon. You have said that Pakistan is a place of what you call contradictions and double narratives. It's a narrative of repression, state-led repression, and sometimes repression by religious heads and mullahs. But it's also a place of enormous resistance, resistance by civil society, and you have been at the forefront of the resistant narrative. And I think that's what makes you so powerful an advocate. Bookmarking your journey to justice are two major events, and I want to touch on those two major events. Your idyllic childhood in Lahore was interrupted brutally when in the early 1960s, Ayub Khan, the first military leader in Pakistan, sent a cadre of leaders in the middle of the night with torches to take your father to prison. And you still remember how he said tata to the children and left in the police armored cars. And he was in prison for 14 years while you came of age. And then in 1969, in protest, you scaled the walls of the governor of Lahore, and you hoisted a black flag in protest of your father's imprisonment, becoming not only your father's biggest advocate, but one of the most prominent human rights advocates of that time, during a very difficult time in Pakistan. You were suspended from school because of that act of resistance. And then in 2012, nearly 35 years later, in the US files leaked by Edward Snowden, it was suggested that there was an assassination plan by Pakistan's powerful and shady ISL. And it is just one of the long list of plots against your life. So what years of tumult and triumph span that time period when you climbed and scaled the gates of the governor of Lahore to 2012, when it was revealed to the world that for many years that the largest spy agency in Pakistan had been plotting to kill their most famous human rights advocate. During that span of years, you have been a target of assassinations, spent time in jail, under house arrest. Your family has been threatened. Your property has been attacked. You continue to travel with armed guards. Your staff has been kidnapped. Your daughter's life has been threatened. And once, when you organized a march, the mullahs dictated a fatwa and nullified your marriage and all of the women who marched alongside with you. You have seen a client murdered in your office. You have held some of the highest positions in Pakistan and at the UN. You've represented women, children, and minorities. You've changed the law in Pakistan. You've changed the face of activism in Pakistan. You fought in court and outside court. You walked the corridors of power at the United Nations. But most importantly, you marched the streets of Pakistan. So what I want you to do now is to speak a little bit about some of those stories, the stories of your clients. And I want you to focus on three major aspects of your work. One has been your struggle from day one to change and to roll back the impact of the Hudud Ordinance. The Hudud Ordinance, which was promulgated by Zia-ul-Haq, the dictator and the military leader. And the Hudud Ordinance has created havoc in the lives of women, children, and minorities. Women who are raped are not able to go to court because the fact that their evidence is worth half of a man's evidence. And if they are not able to prove that they have been raped, then they are alleged with zina. Zina, which is a crime of a crime of adultery, and adultery is criminalized under the Hudud Ordinance. Women have faced honor crimes where crimes against their human integrity and human security are considered private crimes and civil law offenses.